Hello and welcome to the Unapologetic Aussie podcast. I am the Unapologetic Aussie. My guest today is John Katsavos from the Fitness Oracle podcast. He's been a personal trainer for over a decade, and for 11 of his 12 years, he's been running his own business called Vio Fitness. One of the most important things he's done is helping people with exercise, nutrition, and martial arts training, as well as improved mental health. He also, as I found out this morning when I did some snooping, has a little bit of a keen interest in cryptocurrency, if I'm not mistaken. Welcome to the podcast, John.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, John. My pleasure. So you're over in Ontario, Canada. John, of course, there's a bit of rivalry between Canadians and Americans, even though you guys share the same landmass, if I'm not mistaken. Why is that?
Oh, that's, I guess you could say they have a tendency of enjoying taking advantage of us. And we have this weird affiliation and weird thing where we enjoy being taken advantage of. Like, we have so many resources here in Canada, yet we sell it to the US to get it refined and fixed and done whatever they need to do, and then they sell it back to us at an inflated price, and us, like a bunch of bozos, we pay. It's like we can't build our own factories and build it. But I have my own issues with my current government right now. I think he's a freaking moron.
Yeah, I've been kind of following Mr. Trudeau, and I can't say I'm a fan for numerous reasons. And it's funny that you have explained this weird relationship that you guys have got, because I kind of feel like, from what you've just said, Canada is to the US what Australia is to China, like their bitch. Because I mean, we've got like all of this coal and all of these natural resources, and we sell them over to China, and China just sells it back, and we're like, oh, we got such a great deal.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, China's labor is a lot cheaper, but I don't think there's going to be too much trade going on in the near future, particularly with the whole unrest around COVID. I mean, they really did themselves in with that one. If they were hoping to try and gain some sort of advantage, if that's what really happened, I it's not something I'll go into too much on today's podcast. But if they were really looking to take advantage of other countries by way of this virus getting out, it really backfired on them big time. Because I just saw overnight, President Trump has essentially, he's actually signed an executive order. It's done. It's signed, that effectively bans TikTok and WeChat in the US in 45 days, as long as they're still Chinese owned. And of course, WeChat will be. But with regard to TikTok, he is said that he would be open to Microsoft taking over that. Obviously, there would be some scrutiny, but he's not adverse to it. So what's your thoughts on that?
That's a slippery slope. Me personally, I don't have TikTok. I don't have TikTok because I believe that computers should be the way they were supposed to intended to be used. A free platform for everybody to voice their opinion, no matter what that opinion is, and everybody should have the right mindset to be able to make their own decision.
Right. Yeah, I'm 100% on the same page as you.
Like, I consider myself conservative. So here in Canada, conservative is like right-leaning.
So you consider yourself logical.
Yeah, I like to come up with my own decisions. I don't like others coming up with my decisions. It makes me angry.
It's interesting. Yes, you go on.
Yeah, but I will not completely mute out the other side, because I do believe that there is some truth somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I think nuance and balance is a really important thing. I actually did a podcast just yesterday. I haven't uploaded it yet. I just got to do a few little things before I do. But I spoke with Yuri Naya from the Awkward Mind podcast. Really fascinating guy as well. And he was saying to me, well, we're having this discussion actually about freedom of speech, and we're sort of saying, well, like, where's that balance between control and anarchy, And it's a really fine line. And I I think it's something that will never really be set in concrete. It will always be sort of like a floating point, something that just dances around and can never really be pinned down. And I don't know that it's a bad thing that that's never pinned down, because unless that the moment that that line gets set in concrete is the moment that a government has totalitarian control over you if they so choose to. So
Well,
that's
look at Cambodia, most recent example of that kind of way of thinking.
what happened
Trying
in
to,
Cambodia. I'm actually not across that. I know you've traveled a bit more than I have, so I'm curious to hear what happened in Cambodia.
back in the late 70s, there was the Khmer Rouge took over,
Mm-hmm.
and they literally it was literally right after the Vietnam War ended, and they were like afraid of the Americans taking over and giving them actual jobs and freedom and money and income and things coming in and people thinking for themselves.
How
So
dare America give them those things?
I know, the bastards. But Pol Pot, who was a communist, Marxist communist, took over and gave power to the Khmer Rouge. And within 4 years, they decimated that population from 7 million people to 3.5 million people.
Wow.
I went to one of those killing fields in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh, and the next day was a very hard day for me. A very hard
Damn.
day.
How old were you when that happened, John?
It was what, 2 years ago, so 42. Oh, how old was
Jeez.
I? How old
Yeah,
was
yeah,
I?
yeah.
I was I was actually born. I was born in '76, so it happened
Oh no,
end of
like I meant how old were you when you experienced this over in Cambodia?
42.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's really, it's a tough thing to see when you're young, but when you kind of, because I'm 40 myself, so we're similar sort of vintage, um, and when you get to our age and you've seen a lot of what happens in the world and how the world works, and you kind of understand things a bit better, you really can grasp the full impact of something like that and how sad it is. Like it's one thing to sort of say, oh, this shouldn't have happened, but to realize why it happened and how people let it happen, like that's really to understand that nobody actually stepped in the meantime. Like that's hard to deal with.
Yeah, and like I said, like it was hard for me because my sister just had her second son, and
Hmm.
I called them on WhatsApp. I'm like, hey, what's up? And I just saw my sister there, and I saw her happy with her two little boys, and I'm like, I was literally in the Phnom Penh lobby, and I just broke down. I just completely
Just knowing
broke
that she
down.
was safe.
Just knowing that she was safe and she was happy and with two healthy boys, I was like, just this emotion just came over me, and I was like, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. What I saw, what I heard, the stories from the day before, where 18, 20, 21-year-old boys grabbing babies by the feet and just beating them up against a tree in front of their own mother. And if they were too small, they would grab the baby, throw it up in the air, put it underneath a bayonet for the baby to land on. And then I see my sister happy and healthy with two beautiful boys. I was like, I couldn't take it.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize we were going to get this heavy 9 minutes into the podcast, right? Wow. This is why I love you, John. No homo, man. Um, so speaking of the, obviously you mentioned communism and Marxism before. It's funny how America at the moment is saying, "Oh, but that's not real communism." It's like, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it
It is.
is.
It is. It
Have you
is.
guys in Canada experienced any spillover from the current political unrest going on over in the States?
Not really. Not really. You have a lot of people that are flapping off their mouths, but not
Are all
really.
your statues still intact?
Yeah, some people decide to paint one of our first prime ministers pink. All right, whatever,
You're such a
whatever.
revolutionary.
Yeah, I know, I know. He actually helped the slaves from the U.S. come up, and they decided to paint him pink, and they labeled him as a racist. I'm like, but he, wait a second.
Like literally freed them. He's like the
Yeah,
least racist person you could possibly imagine.
yeah. He helped people come up. All right, whatever.
John, history is racist, all right? We're not allowed to know anything about history because if we know about history, then we can predict the future. And if we can predict the future, then we know what people are up to. And if we know what people are up to, then we might try and stop them. And if we try and stop them, then they don't get what they want and they're going to have a little cry party.
There you go. There you go.
100%. So, look, on another topic, I know you're a keen traveler, and I've heard you tout some benefits to travel, which I'd love to cover later. But give me a rundown on where you've been to, because I've seen a few of your beautiful photos from Thailand, but where else have you traveled to?
I've been to Vietnam, Cambodia, obviously, Thailand. Uh, I've been to Greece multiple times. US, Mexico. I was supposed to go to Colombia, Bolivia, and Peru, but COVID had different plans for me. I've been to Cuba, and I've been pretty much all over the US.
That's cool, man. I'd love to do a bit more traveling. I actually went on my first, because I'd been to Tasmania, which doesn't really count because it's just a little, it's sort of like another state of Australia that's detached. But I've also been to Fiji and the Philippines previously. But I went last year on a trip overseas with a mate of mine who I actually met. He was a YouTuber, and I was doing a bit of YouTubing at the time as well. And we connected, we became friends. And I traveled over to Latvia with him because he was originally from, his mum was from Belarus, and I think his dad was from Russia. The name of the place in Russia that they were actually living in, went to Latvia, we went to Austria, Germany, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Czech Republic, and Russia. And you haven't been to Moscow yet, have you, John?
No, not yet.
Do you like Do you like architecture and like really?
I love architecture.
Dude, Russia should be your first stop on the map. If you love architecture, that place is insane. I can't even begin to describe it. There's actually this really cool thing about Russia. All of the buildings made in the Soviet era, which is the majority of the city, they were designed 100% symmetrical.
Really?
Yeah, so there's, I think it's the Four Seasons Hotel that they've got there. It's like a massive hotel. And it used to be a Soviet building. And during the war, there was some artillery that, or shrapnel or some sort of missile or whatever it was that hit the Four Seasons Hotel, at least with the Four Seasons Hotel now. And it damaged part of the building. And they rebuilt that part, but the architect actually made an error. So it's not perfectly symmetrical. The balconies are different to the ones on the other side. So that's actually like a sight to see, something not symmetrical. And even in one of the train stations, they've got these bronze statues on either side of the, like basically between the two platforms. They've got these bronze statues where the pillars are, and they mirror each other and they face each other.
Wow.
Yeah, like, dude, you would love it in Russia. And anyone else who's listening right now, if you love architecture, get yourself over to Moscow now, yesterday, or when COVID decides that it's going to stop being a pain in the ass. But that's another story. Because I could go on for hours about Russia, but I won't. I think one of the things that blew me away the most was the sort of the train network. It's so efficient and it's so cool. And in the inner circle, which was built, I think, late 1800s, I could be mistaken, but it was one of the first pieces of the Soviet rail network. And this thing has a train that comes once a minute, on the minute, every minute. There is a little countdown timer over the tunnel that the train comes out of that counts from 60 seconds down to 1.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's a thing. And
Uh,
it's so freaking cool. I dig it big time.
don't get me started on the transit system here in Toronto. Don't get me
The
started.
wait, the train system or the trans system?
Our subway system, our public transportation here is garbage. We've been building 18 kilometers of tram for the
Mhm.
past 3 years, and
Wow.
it's still not finished. There's another 2 years left.
If it makes you feel any better, we spent billions and billions and billions of dollars on this light rail network, and a lot of it actually overlaps with the train network to begin with, so that's kind of pointless. But whatever. Like if there's different places that you can get to that you can't get to in the train network, I get it because so we've got to go past places. But you can actually travel from the city to the eastern suburbs significantly quicker on either a bicycle or a bus. Right.
Uh,
So maybe we should just, Canada or Australia should just hang out together and call ourselves Australiada or something.
Probably, yeah.
Sounds like we're pretty similar in a lot of ways. So look, John, we could banter all day, I have no doubt, but let's get on to the topic of today's podcast, which is primarily fitness and health. I know you started this podcast a few months ago, but you've been getting some really good traction on your episodes, so obviously they're resonating. What message do you hope to send and convey by interviewing other personal trainers, martial artists, and health industry influencers on your podcasts?
Well, I'm actually trying to reach out to people who are suffering from depression and who are having a hard time because uh, one of the cheapest ways that you can actually get out of it is actually just through exercise. Not
Mm,
necessarily martial arts, because martial arts can actually start costing pretty penny, but just exercise, like just basic stuff, like going for walks, going for long walks, going for runs, going to the lake here, Lake Ontario, going for a swim, whatever. Just trying to introduce people into stuff like that, and I try and get other people that have been through hard times and give them a platform so that they can hear that they're not alone. Because one of the biggest things when people are in depression is that they feel that they're alone and
mm.
then nobody's out there to listen. But if I can get them to just show them that, there is people out there like you, that you're not alone, that somebody has been through something like that, not exactly, but something like that. And this is what they did. Why don't you try it? Kind of thing.
Right. And speaking about someone who's been through that kind of difficult journey, John, I would actually want to hear your story about when your story almost ended before it started.
Well, this is going back to about 2002. No,
So you would have been
2000.
about 26, roughly.
Yeah, 2001. I was about 25 years old. Um, I had it great, man. I am telling you, I had it great. I had a good job paying me really well, good money. I had a fantastic car. I had a car, excuse me, that most of my friends couldn't buy. I had a BMW Z3 when it first came out.
Oof.
Here it was like $42,000. I, with payments, I was paying for it. I had moved into my condo. I had a great girlfriend. I was living the life. I just put myself back into university so I could up my game in at my work. And then I lost my job. Lost the job. Got kicked out of my place. Moved back with my folks. Found out that my girl was cheating on me. I lost her. Got into a fight with all my friends because none of them were there to support me, and I went into a really dark place. I locked myself in my bedroom at my parents' house for a year. So when I hear people out there saying that they're going through a hard time with this COVID stuff for that they've been locked up for 3 months. I totally understand it. I totally get it. I've been there, and I know what you're going through. So it got to the point where there's a bridge that overruns a highway or a freeway, whatever you guys want to call it.
It's just called a roadway.
A roadway, a roadway where people go really fast. And I was actually standing on the bridge, and I was thinking to myself, "This is it. I can't take it anymore. I'm just gonna jump." And I planned it out. And I was gonna say, okay, I'm gonna wait for a car to come closer so I can jump, so that when I jump and I come close to the ground, the car's gonna hit me and I'm done. So there's no chance of survival. And I had kind of like a weird epiphany. Like there was somebody that came beside me. There was no person, it was just the being that came beside me. You can say like my third eye or my mind's eye opened up or whatever. And that being showed me, my funeral.
Wow.
Yeah. And it showed the instance where my friends were going to walk into my funeral. And I saw my mom, my sister, my dad, and my cousins and my aunts and my uncles. They all just turned around and they all started scrapping. And this being kind of told me, he goes, "Do you want this to happen?" I'm like, "No, because I don't want my actions to affect other people. Not that I've never been that type of person. I want them only to affect me."
Hmm.
And then this being took me to the person that I actually landed on, the car that I landed on. And he showed me the house and the situation that person was in. And he was in complete, utter destruction. Like I would have destroyed that person's life. And he
That would have
goes,
been the last straw, you mean?
"Yeah, yeah." And he goes, "Do you want this to happen to this person?" I'm like, "No, absolutely not." He goes, "Then don't jump." He literally brought me back to where I was standing, and he goes, "Don't jump. You have so much more to offer this world than you don't even imagine. You can't even imagine."
I'm getting
And
goosebumps right now.
and obviously I was in a weird dark place, so I couldn't see anything. Like I was like, "Oh, there's nothing." I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't want to hurt other people, so I'm not going to do it just for those people. And I don't want to hurt the people, especially that are close to me, so I don't want to do this." And yeah, I did something that most people with depression and suicidal thoughts would never do. I applied for a gun license.
That was not what I was expecting.
I actually lied on the application to get the gun license, because on the gun license application it says, "Do you have any depression? Are you suffering from depression? Have you ever had any suicidal thoughts?" I put no.
I'm good as gold over here.
I'm cheeky. I'm amazing. Never been better.
It's like when you apply for insurance. Have you ever had any accidents or lost your license?
No.
It's crazy you say that about the gun license. I was actually just talking about getting that yesterday with a friend of mine. We've agreed to get it once he gets back from his police training. But sorry, I just wanted to share that. Please continue.
Yeah, but that gun license actually got me a job.
Right. In what field?
I was an armed guard for 2.5 years. And
Yeah, right.
that job got me a membership at a gym. So I started working out, started feeling better. I started looking better. I started feeling better. I still wasn't out of the woods. One night we were driving back from the banks, from the vaults in the banks, and we were dropping off the truck back at the
So
shop.
this was not just armored guard, but cash in transit armored guard, right?
cash in transit. I
Right.
used to drive around with millions of dollars in cash. I can honestly say, and I can't, and this is not a lie, I've had $1 million in cash on my back.
That's
Not a lot of
cool.
not a lot of people can say that. Wasn't my money. I wish it was.
So you didn't go Forrest Gump on them then and just keep running.
No. They'll find you.
Yeah, they know where you live.
They know where you're going to live.
They know where you're going to live. They know where you've dreamt about living. They know everything.
Yeah. But yeah, on the way back to the shop, I had a thought because I was sitting in the back with my messenger. The messenger is like the crew chief of the small crew. And all I could think about was the thought came into my head that my messenger's not fast enough. He's not fast enough for me to go grab my gun, put it in my mouth, pull the trigger. He's not fast enough to stop me. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm not out of the woods. I still need something. The next day I signed up for martial arts into Sistema, which is Russian martial arts.
Ah.
And that was my saving grace.
What was it about getting into Sistema that was that final step in being your saving grace?
When you punch someone, when you kick someone, you punch someone and you kick someone. And it doesn't matter where, you just punch them and kick them. And you have to figure out how not to make it hurt so much.
And how not to get punched and kicked.
Not really. Sometimes it's good just to stand there and just get punched and get kicked. It has a humbling effect to you.
Yeah, right.
So it helps with the humility aspect of martial arts. Like, you are fragile. You are going to hurt. This is going to hurt. You just got to deal with it. You just got to figure out how you're going to deal with it. Like, I've been punched so hard where I almost had an out-of-body experience.
Wow.
It was an interesting time. Like, literally, it would literally, like, Bruce Lee's 1-inch punch?
Yeah. It's not a big punch, but it's a big punch.
It's a big punch. It was right. The fist was actually on my body. So it felt like the guy had taken his fist and put it right through my whole body.
Wow.
I was literally, I almost blacked out with the amount of energy that went through me, and I found myself like on the floor in the fetal position. I could barely breathe. It was a crazy experience. And then just because the type of person I am, I just stood up, got my breath. He helped me get my breath back. I'm like, okay, next one.
I mean, look, clearly Sistema is not for the lighthearted. There'd be some people that probably it wouldn't be suited to, but there might be other people that it would be suited to that wouldn't know that it's suited to them. I guess you won't know until you try, right?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
But let's talk about exercise on a bit more of a less specific, tangent. So exercise is a pretty broad topic, John, and some people do see it as a bit of a chore, and some people see it as the too hard basket. And I just wanted to touch on what you said before about just going for a walk, or going out somewhere. I think a lot of people have got this perception that exercise has to be difficult, and I just don't think that's the case. And there are multiple benefits. So, can you tell me about some of the benefits of exercise and some of the ways in which someone who's maybe a little bit adverse to exercise could get involved in getting fit without it being too much of a shock to the system?
Yeah. So exercise actually does a lot of things, positive and negative. We'll focus on the positive stuff. So there's a chemical reaction or chemical release that happens in the brain. It's it releases that feel good endorphins, norepinephrine and epinephrine in your brain. So it's like doing drugs, just not that potent as like doing a line of cocaine, for example, right? But it does have the same effect to a lesser degree. So, one guy, Paul Chek, actually calls it the drug of choice, and he's completely and utterly right on that aspect. I don't agree with everything that Paul Chek says, but that I agree with. So, from a chemical standpoint in the brain, yes, it's very, very effective. From a physical standpoint, this is where it can get tricky, because if most people, I'd say all people, have muscular imbalances, and that used to be my specialty, find the muscular imbalance, fix it, get it stronger. Um, you don't have to have this huge repertoire of exercises and a gym membership or anything to do a workout. One of my favorite tools is a kettlebell. It's inexpensive. You can do it in your bedroom. You can do it anywhere. You don't need to move around. Just a couple swings, you get a great workout. If you can't afford a kettlebell, go for a walk. Go for a run. Sorry?
For anyone who doesn't know what a kettlebell is, it's kind of like a sphere, like a ball of metal with kind of like a curved, almost semicircle handle. So if you've ever seen those things in the gym, that's a kettlebell.
Yeah. I like to explain it like a cannonball with a handle.
That's actually a pretty accurate description. It really is a cannonball with a handle. I mean, you chop that handle off, put it in a cannon, and you're good to go. You're sinking ships. Especially if it's a 24-kilo kettlebell, am I right?
Yep. 16 kilo can do some pretty big damage too.
I can imagine. So you were saying about with swinging the kettlebell, how is it typically swung? Is it sort of like, do you swing it over your head? I mean, that's kind of sounds dangerous. Or do you swing it between your legs, or like do you swing it from side to side? What's the technique that someone should use if they are deciding to employ a kettlebell in their exercise regime?
So basically, the kettlebell, again, like if you do this properly, it has huge benefits. If you do this improperly, you're going to find yourself at a chiropractor's table or on my table trying to fix you again. So kettlebell swing, for example, it's a half squat. The power comes from your legs and your glutes, and you come up. And when you come up, you raise your arms to shoulder height. I know a lot of places out there. I'm going to call one modality out, CrossFit. They like to come up above your head. That is very dangerous, especially if you don't know what's going on in the shoulder complex. And there's a lot that can go on in the shoulder complex. So that's why the safest bet to do is just to shoulder height and then back down. You want to
with arms straightened and extended outwards, you mean?
Forwards. So you're coming forwards, arms extended.
Okay, so the arm stays straight from a hanging downwards perspective with being weighed down by the kettlebell, and just bring them all the way out, but keep them fully straight the whole time, right?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Then you can go into like cleans and presses and like cool downs, like around the body pass. So there's everything centered around the center of your torso, which is the majority of where all your strength is supposed to come from.
Okay. Now, obviously, as your core gets stronger, the supporting muscles around it get stronger as well, because, well, you sort of can't just work specifically that middle bit without touching anything else if you're moving your body around, right?
Yeah. I don't like the term core, but we'll use the term core.
What term do you prefer for that?
Torso.
Okay, cool. I like that term, and I guess I've heard core used a lot, and I didn't really know another technical term to accurately describe it. So I'm going to start using torso from now on rather than core. So
Well,
thank you, John.
yeah, no problem. It's totally understandable. Us personal trainers have dropped the ball on pretty much every single terminology that's out in the mainstream.
As long as you didn't drop the kettlebell, right?
As long as you don't drop a kettlebell. Hey, if you drop it, it's your floor, not mine.
Let's hope you get some thick rubber mats.
I don't think that's gonna help that much.
If you're in a Greek lounge room and you've got like marble tiles, none are gonna come running.
God, good luck.
So look, getting back to martial arts, because you said that you've trained in Systema, and that's been something that's been fairly integral in your training and your progression. But what are some of the other different types of martial arts that are pretty common? And do you have any other favorites other than Systema? And and if so, why? And what are some of the ones that you feel have more benefit for people than others?
Do I have? When I first got into martial arts, I was 8, and it was in Shotokan karate.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very regimental, very training, very systematic. I could never get the full benefit of Shotokan karate because I couldn't understand, I couldn't grasp the Taoist esoteric aspect of it.
Hmm.
And every single martial art in this world has a esoteric aspect to it. It has to, because then the martial art is going to become unbalanced.
So what does the word esoteric mean for the layman?
Spiritual side. There
Right. Okay.
has to be a spiritual aspect to martial arts. If there's no spiritual aspect to it, then the whole yin and yang part of all martial arts becomes unbalanced, and then I don't even want to look at that martial art. Like, I dabbled a little bit in Muay Thai kickboxing, and Muay Thai kickboxing also has the Buddhist aspect to it. So you have destruction and construction. Systema has destruction and the Christian aspect, which is why I can resonate with Systema more, because I grew up in a very Greek Orthodox, Eastern Orthodox upbringing. So
Gotcha.
I got it easier. I'm not the type of person where I like to say that one martial art is better than the other. I think all martial arts are good. I think the practitioner is that wild card which makes it good or bad.
Right. So the person who's actually doing the training in that particular discipline.
Yes. So I like them all. I personally enjoy really watching like Muay Thai kickboxing. Like when I was in Bangkok, Friday night fight at Lumpini Stadium, I was front row, baby. I loved it. I was having like sweat and tiger bombs sprayed on me every time they were right by me. I'm like, this is heaven right here.
Actually, I just wanted to share something with you. Well, ask you a question, and then I wanted to share a funny little anecdote of mine around something that you mentioned in that sentence previously. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is, did you get into Muay Thai when you went to Thailand, or was Muay Thai what took you to Thailand?
No, I got into Muay Thai just before I fell into the depression.
Okay.
Just before I fell into the depression, I was in Muay Thai. I stopped it because they brought the bats out and they're like, okay, we're going to work on your shins. I'm like, no, you're not.
You're like, I'm out. Time out right now.
Yeah, I'm done. Thank you for everything, but you're not working on I like my shins how they are.
I'll see you on Facebook.
I'll just go watch Kickboxer again on TV. I'm fine.
Oh, that's so good. Well, the little anecdote I was going to share with you, I actually went and got a Thai massages one time, and you're probably going, how does this tie into Muay Thai, other than both of them being a sort of from Thailand traditionally? But I'd had my massage and I'd finished, and I got up. They left the room, and I got up off the table and I dropped the towel, and I was getting dressed again. And then I see this little tub, and I was like, "Oh, lip balm!" I started to put lip balm on.
Not lip balm.
And about halfway between the massage booth and the front room where they serve you your tea, I was going, "Oh, I'm in bit of trouble now." I've just smeared like half a tub of tiger balm onto my lips.
Oh man, yeah, wow.
Those little things that you use to do the creme brulee, like the brulee burner,
Mhm.
the little handheld. It felt like someone's taken one of those to my lips from like a short distance. It was just burning like crazy. It killed me. Not literally, obviously, but yeah, that was not pleasant.
Yeah.
So that was my memorable experience with Tiger Balm, unlike yours being ringside at the Muay Thai fighting. Oh, so good.
But yeah, the other form of martial arts that I actually really enjoy watching is capoeira.
Capoeira, yes, I've seen capoeira. I just there's just something about it that has this incredible flow to it. It's just this synergy between the people that are involved. It's like this dance, but it's just like a dance of movement and flow and synergy, and I just love it. What was it that attracted you to it initially?
That and the history behind it, and I was like, this is brilliant. Like, you cannot see it. You can't see the martial art, because when conquistadors came over from Spain and Portugal, and they invaded, they banned all martial arts, and the 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 native Brazilians actually had a very effective form of martial arts. So they're like, we need to teach this because this is part of our heritage to our kids. So how do we teach it? So they introduced song and dance with a martial art.
So it's not like fighting martial art, but it's still martial art using a lot of the same disciplines.
Yes. And I've actually sparred against a capoeira guy. I don't ever want to do that again. Never want to do that again.
So like, when you say sparring, was that just like kind of free fighting, or?
Yeah, just play fighting kind of thing. Like I told him, I go, you just do your capoeira stuff, I'll do my Sistema stuff, and we'll see. Right? Wow, man, I got kicked in the head. I thought I was going to get punched in the head. Wow, that was just like, good on you. And he was trying to teach me, and I'm all stiff and everything. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I can't do this.
Yeah, wow. He's obviously flexible like a rubber band by the sounds of it.
Yeah, he was doing some weird kicks. And I'm like, whew, good for you, buddy. Good for you.
Good for you. Please don't kick me in the head again. So, John, look, obviously we could go on for hours about martial arts, but I wanted to get onto something that is something for me personally, because I know that people tend to be driven to do something they benefit from. Like, whenever you see someone getting involved in something where they're doing it, say for example, if someone gets involved in fighting just to stop getting beaten up, right? It's only when they start to move towards something rather than moving away from something that they start to make real progress. I mean, obviously practice makes perfect, and you start to make progress if you practice something, but it's when you really kind of go, this isn't about running from the fight anymore. This is actually about, improving my craft and whatnot. So given that people tend to be driven by something they benefit from, what are some of the benefits of exercises that you can tell me that tend to outweigh the input that people are required to put in when they're exercising? I know that's a tough question.
That's a tough question. Um,
Because we want to, what, like, I guess the premise behind the question is, I want to know what the motivators are for people that might want to move towards a more fit lifestyle or a more energetic lifestyle would be.
well, that's a very personal question. It's dependent on the individual rather than, me just blurting out like, oh, drop 10 pounds in 30 days. I actually use that, but
Can you help people to do that actually though?
yeah, it's a very easy thing to do. Like, it's not a difficult thing to do. All we need to do is make one change. That's
Yeah,
it.
right.
That's all it takes, one change. I'm all about the simplicity of things. I don't like things making things too complicated. Do one
Right.
thing, do it right. Next day, do a second thing. Keep that one thing for the next day, do a second thing. Do that right. And then just increase it, increase it, increase it. I like to go by the 1% rule. Be 1% better every day.
Yeah, that's a cool rule actually. And it's not hard to do when you
No,
look
it's
at it
not.
that way.
By the end of the year, you're 365% better than you were when you first started. I mean, you can't go wrong.
I mean, technically, it's actually more than that if you look at the mathematics behind it. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'm being a semantic, getting into semantics now. I'm actually my personality type when I did the Myers Briggs is a debater. So get me into a debate, lock horns with me, and let's dance, baby. It's on. And as someone who has that personality type, I have to be unapologetic because I have to say, look, I'm not going to apologize for saying what I said, because I said it with a positive intent, and I said it because I meant it, and I meant it. I said it because I meant it because I know that there's fact backing up what I said, which brings me back to my little joke about us being logical as conservatives, and look, by the way, there's nothing. There's no love lost between myself and I'm sure yourself, John, because I know your personality relatively well. There's no love lost between guys like myself and John and people who wouldn't consider themselves conservatives, that would consider themselves progressives, or sort of tend to be more emotionally connected. I mean, look, you're only hearing a little bit on the surface from John and I, but we're both very spiritual people. We're both very emotionally connected. But when it comes to issues where there is tangible evidence around it, we tend to go for the facts and the logic first, and sort of try and then balance that with the other side of things. Would that be a fair statement to make, John?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement to make.
Okay, cool. 'Cause I was sort of sitting there going, "Oh God, what if I get to the end of what I'm saying right now, and John's just like, dude, you're on crack."
No, I agree with that. I agree with what you said.
Cool. So I think the biggest thing that I'd like to take from and impart on my listeners, with what John just said, is that exercise doesn't need to be difficult. Simplicity is the key. And if you follow someone that does have the knowledge and the understanding of exercise and physiology and nutrition and how the body works, to be able to impart those simple exercises or simple tools or simple strategies in place, to help you to get to the next level, then that's something that I really encourage that you do. And I'll be leaving. I haven't finished this podcast yet, but I just wanted to mention that I will be leaving all of the links to John's content down below in the description, so you can go and check that out later. But John, on the topic of your content, you talk about the 3 pillars of fitness. So tell me more about those and the specific benefits.
Um, the 3 pillars of fitness actually came about my 12 years of being a personal trainer. These are the three things that I see that somebody can do right now to get the change that they want. So I have a 3-part free video series on my website, viofitness.ca, that you can go and get it for. It goes directly every day into your inbox. The 3 pillars are basically nutrition, rest and recovery, and exercise. So if where if we have these three things going on at the same time, you are going to get the changes that you desire,
Right.
regardless of regardless of what you're eating, regardless of how you're resting and recovering, and regardless of what you're doing the exercise with, you are going to see those changes. And I try and make it again as simple as possible, because with nutrition, for example, I mean, this is such a huge beast for people. I even have problems with nutrition. I After this, I'm probably gonna go grab some ice cream, just chill out and have some ice cream. I just had a cookie before we started. I eat what I want, but I do things the way I'm supposed to do it, with portion control. I understand the right food pyramid, not the wrong one, and I implement these things. And this is the thing that I try and show you, show you guys in my first pillar. The second pillar is rest and recovery, which is, what times are you sleeping? What's the quality of your sleep? Are you supplementing? What are you taking any vitamins, any minerals? I show you tips and tricks and show you guys exactly how to find out which vitamin mineral works for you. Because if vitamin B2 works for me, if I give vitamin B2 to you, Scott, it might not work for you. I
Right.
guarantee
Right.
there is a 33% chance that it will not work.
Interesting. So, what's the specific benefit of B2 for people who it does work for?
Better energy throughout the day.
Okay.
There are
Cool.
there are some supplements that actually work for everybody, like BCAA, protein shakes, um, maca berry root, creatine monohydrate. All these things work because you're just giving your body a little bit extra boost to prepare itself for exercise, repair itself from exercise. And there's a huge misconception in the world. And again, it stems from personal trainers. We failed at this. We're supposed to be professionals at fitness, physiology, and most times psychology. We're not supposed to be doing the psychology part, but every single personal training session that I've had, I know about their kids, I know about their husbands, their wives, their family. Just like, can we just do bicep curls? Please. That's all I ask.
That's what I'm here for, to show you how to do this.
Yeah. And I'm finding out about what they had for dinner last night. I'm like, I don't care. Sorry. But anyways, so I lost my train of thought there. I had a squirrel
We're just
moment.
talking about the three pillars of fitness, and I think you articulated them pretty well. At talking about how you were going on supplements when we went off on a tangent.
Right. So the supplementation part, like there's supplements that work for everybody, and if we know how to utilize them properly through pre-workout, during workout, post-workout, we can actually maximize the amount of muscle growth. Here's where I went off on a tangent. Um, Personal trainers have created this misconception that you grow in the gym. There is
Mm.
no growth in the gym. You destroy in the gym.
Deteriorate your muscles, like, well, not deteriorate. Sorry, it's a bad
You,
word.
you tear muscle fibers. You tear the muscle fibers, which are called actually sarcomeres. You rip them apart. You grow when you're out of the gym.
Right.
This is why protein shakes are so critical. This is why magnesium, zinc, um, BCAAs, this is why this is so critical after you finish your workouts. There's a thing that I actually say during my three pillars of fitness for the nutrition, for the rest and recovery part. If you look at the amount of money these giant clubs like Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester United, uh, LA Lakers, all these giant clubs, if you see how much money that they pump into their athletes' rest and recovery, it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars,
Wow.
because that is the most important part, not the gym, not the sport. That's just a side effect of everything that we're doing. It's the rest and
Yeah,
recovery.
right.
And the third pillar is exercise. Now, if we do if we do nutrition, rest and recovery, and we don't include exercise, well, guess what's going to happen?
It's not going to be good.
No. So the exercise part of it, I introduced kettlebells because of the COVID situation. It's an easy substitute to actually introduce a resistance factor
Hmm.
to stimulate that muscle tear. Um, Now, you'll get better results in a gym because you can actually target muscles in different positions, which I do, and I'm working on another program to help that, because I think the restrictions here in Toronto are being lifted. Um, but yeah, so when we get all those three pillars in play, then you're gonna drop those 10 pounds. You're gonna put on those 5 pounds. You're gonna put on that 5 pounds of muscles in a month. It's a give me. It's a gimme. It really is.
Hmm. Yeah, right. And something that I think a lot of people don't realize, and when you have gone to the gym and you've had a good resistance workout, particularly with weights or with using your own body weight, calisthenics, uh, that aching that you feel in the days after is the aftermath of the muscle tear. And a lot of people go, "Oh, I hurt myself," but it's like, no, it's actually a good thing that you're feeling this. The key is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, John, the key is, by my understanding, that you use the correct nutrition and the correct rest in order to recuperate more quickly, so that ache goes away quickly, the muscle regenerates more quickly, more dense and more strong than it was before. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
But you don't want that to last too long.
Right, right. So you can mitigate that with rest and nutrition.
Rest, nutrition, and supplementations. If you miss the supplementation part, you're going to be aching for a week.
100%, 100%. And look, I'm a guy, right? So, I'm a little bit self-interested in this respect. And I think all human beings to some degree are self-interested, even when we appear to be, you know, giving and, not in any way selfish. Usually we're doing things that seem to be not selfish for selfish reasons. It might make us feel good to feed the homeless, for example, right? We're not gonna feed the homeless if we don't like feeding the homeless, right? So we're all inherently selfish. So I'm just gonna go off on a selfish little tangent here and ask you some questions for my own benefit.
Okay.
So there's a natural supplement that I came across, and it's got DAA, which is an amino acid. It's got vitamin D in the dose of 5,000 IU. What does IU stand for when you're looking at vitamin D doses as well, by the way?
International units.
Right. So the higher the higher the number, the more potent, right?
Yeah, that's what they mean by it. Yeah.
So, but by logic, if I work 7 p.m. till say at 7 a.m. and go to sleep inside during the day and don't get a lot of sunlight, it's probably not a bad thing for me to be taking. Would that be?
You need more than that.
Julia, we'll talk after this. I'll get onto that. And also oyster extract, which has obviously got quite a bit of zinc in it, and ginseng and fenugreek and magnesium and vitamin B6 and vitamin K2, and there's dedicated zinc dosage, not just from the oyster extract.
Connection. Connection.
Yeah, sorry
Very
about that, John. My Wi-Fi just like literally the 5G channel on my Wi-Fi just went whoop, gone. I'm like,
yeah.
what? So
5G.
I'm back on now. I should be
Okay.
good. But yeah, with respect to all of that stuff that I told you, is there anything else that I should be looking for that is commonly missing in people's diets in terms of a multivitamin?
No, I mean, if for guys specifically, as guys in their 40s, for example,
Mm.
you might want to look at a supplement that or a multivitamin that has tribulus terrestris.
Tribulus terrestris. How do we spell that?
TR TRIBULUS.
Tribulus. Okay, I'm gonna look that up and get onto that. So
Um, the reason why I'm saying tribulus terrestris is because it's a natural supplement that we can take that will slightly increase our testosterone levels.
right. Okay, cool.
Okay.
I might even see if I can find some decent ones. I might even link that in the description below so people can,
Yeah.
get their hands on some if that's what they're after.
Yeah. There's two other things that I actually use personally. One
Yeah.
is called maca berry root. I use
How's
that
that
as
spelled?
MACA,
Yeah.
then berry root. Again, it's a natural testosterone booster with no side
Hmm.
effects.
Okay. And what was the third one?
Shilajit,
How's that spelled?
SHI, LAJIT.
JIT. Shilajit. Cool. I'll check out all of those, and I'll make sure that I put links to those in the link below the podcast so people can order those if they want to get their hands on some of those natural testosterone assistants, because testosterone is actually incredibly important for men, like hugely important, and it's something that is so often just glossed over and people don't even look at it. They go, oh, just take these multivitamins and you'll be fine, you'll be healthy, just eat fruit, whatever, blah blah blah. By the way, for most people listening, John mentioned before about the food pyramid. The food pyramid that has been fed to us since the 1980s is completely wrong.
Yep.
It is 100% completely wrong. I mean, right at the bottom of the food pyramid, like where you're meant to eat the bulk of your food, it's got like all of this stuff that's just going to sit in your stomach. Like what? Who was it that come up with this? Was it some lard ball sitting in the government office that wanted to make themselves look good? Like what? How did this even come about? How did this become government endorsed? Yeah, money. Yeah, that's right.
Money.
It's funny as David Icke says, who benefits. And by the way, for anyone who doesn't know who David Icke is, Brian Rose from London Real has actually got a really cool series of 5 interviews with with David Icke, and it's really fascinating. He talks about everything that's going on in the world at the moment, and pretty much everything he said from episode 1 is proved to be correct. And you might call him a conspiracy theorist, but a conspiracy is just when two or more people are conspiring for a certain outcome. And if you have a theory about something that people are conspiring to do based on evidence that you have in front of you, well, then it doesn't make you that crazy. So that's a side note. But let's get back onto testosterone. What are some of the physiological impacts on having low testosterone, and what are some of the benefits of having high testosterone?
Um, for men, it actually clears up if you have brain fog. If you can increase your testosterone naturally, not with steroids, because I do not endorse steroids.
Hmm.
If you can do it naturally, it clears up brain fog. It can increase your sex life, which is critical for everybody. Um, it's just it makes you feel like a guy again, like strong. Makes you feel like you're in your 20s. It can
Hmm.
actually help slow down the aging process. This is something that people I keep asking me, why do you look like you're in your early 30s? I'm like,
why you look so young, John?
yeah. They're like, why do you look so young? Like, I'm like, I don't know. I do know because everything that I do is increasing my testosterone levels.
Yeah, right. It's interesting because when I actually I went and got my testosterone levels checked not that long ago, and this is a sad state of affairs, right? Like I hadn't been going to the gym, like I wasn't really, doing anything other than just trying to reduce my sugar intake. And when I went to the doctor, she asked me, she says, "Oh, have you been it looks like you've been taking some testosterone supplements." And I was like, "Really?" Like, and she's like, "Oh yeah, your testosterone levels are higher than they should be for your age." And I was like, "What do you mean higher than they should be? Like, so what if they're higher? Like, what's bad about that?" And I think, I mean, I could be wrong, and I'm no expert in the field, but my instinct from what I'm hearing is that the bar has been set so low for the standard testosterone level that most people that have a testosterone level that doctors are like, "Oh, that's about right for your age," are way below where they should be and have so much more potential. Would that be on the money, or would that be an incorrect statement, John? What's your...
No, that's on the money, and that's all because of this whole influx of this soy.
Soy, yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about soy because
Okay.
this is a big issue.
Yeah, let's talk about soy. Soy for me is the devil. Soy is Satan, um, especially for men. It's the worst thing that they could be doing. Like soy drastically increases your estrogen levels, and it's not healthy for a guy at all. There's nothing good that comes from it with high estrogen levels. When you get off of it, bad things happen to you because we're not designed specifically to be producing high levels of estrogen. We are specifically designed, our genetic structure is actually designed to be able to produce more testosterone.
Right.
This is nature talking, not science.
You'd get along really well with my friend, and I'll tell you why. So that friend that I was talking about, where he's about to graduate from the police force and we're going to go get our shooting license together, he used to work as a barista. And when people would ask for soy milk in their coffee, he would tell them that he didn't have any soy milk left.
I like him already.
Yeah, so and it's funny because I see people, until you're all conscious of it, you don't realize how much of an impact high testosterone levels makes on your physiology and the way you look. Seriously. Like when I see guys walk into a coffee shop and order like a soy latte or a soy cappuccino, I almost kind of look at them like, dude, you do that too, right?
Yeah, I do that too. Just I hang my head in shame. Like, I can't believe you actually do that. Wow. All right, man. Whatever.
But it's like they don't know, right? Like, but for example, people who are lactose intolerant and can't take dairy, what would you suggest for men as a really good alternative to soy milk?
I love that comment because I was actually lactose intolerant, or I was diagnosed as lactose intolerant. When I was 16, no, when I was 18 years old. I went, had a pre-workout meal with my buddy before we went to the gym. So my pre-workout meal consisted of a cheeseburger with French fries and a milkshake. Yeah. That was my pre-workout. So
I could just picture all of that unfolding on a regular basis.
So I started working out 10 minutes in. I had a weird thing going on in my stomach. I'm like, okay, I'm going to the bathroom. Went to the
Oh,
bathroom. It was not pretty. It was bad. Like massive, massive runs. Like somebody turned on a faucet kind of runs. And
is it kind of like the end of Van Wilder, where Richard gets introduced to the alumni?
it was just like that.
If you haven't seen Van Wilder, Party Liaison, great movie. Go check it out. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously not pleasant for you, John.
No, severe cramping after. I'm like, you know what? I've got to go to my doctor. So I went to my doctor, got the test, and I went to my doctor for my results goes to me, you are 99.99% lactose intolerance.
Wow.
I'm like, that's insane. I'm like, what do I do? I'm Greek. No
And
more.
I'm not drinking soy milk.
Well, this was back in the early 90s, so soy milk wasn't around.
Hmm.
Right? So I didn't have any options. He's like, well, take the lactate pills, so you'll be fine. So whatever. So for the longest time, I was on lactate pills, and I would just avoid like dairy. I just avoid it. And
Hmm.
at Fight Club, I met a good friend of mine, and he told me, and I told him my story. Right? I told him about the story, and he just started laughing. I'm like, "What's so funny?" He goes, "Have you always been lactose intolerant?" Like, no, I used to eat cheese when I was a kid. He just looks at me and goes, "Stop eating starch for 6 months."
Interesting. So like potatoes and stuff, yeah?
Potatoes, rice, breads. I'm like, are you kidding? Pasta, like spaghetti. I'm like, are you
Yeah,
kidding
heavy
me?
carbs.
Yeah. I'm like, you do know I'm Greek, right? You're asking me to cut out potatoes, rice, and bread and spaghetti. Are you insane?
Like,
He
how
goes,
do you expect me to survive on a diet of water?
yeah, exactly. It's not gonna happen. And he just looked at me. He goes, what do you have to lose? It's only 6 months. I'm like, challenge accepted. So I cut it out 6 months. No bread, no pasta, no rice, no potatoes. Just meats and vegetables and fruits. So 6 months later, I put myself to the test. I ordered a pizza. I ate half a pizza. I had no problems. So
Wow.
when you tell me about lactose intolerance is the test is wrong because it doesn't test for gluten intolerance.
Hmm.
I was gluten intolerance. I was able to flush out all the excess gluten in my stomach, and the lactase enzyme was able now to be free to break down the lactose.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
anybody out there listening that has been diagnosed as lactose intolerant, if you have not been lactose intolerant for your life, stop eating heavy starches for 6 months.
That's cool advice. I like that. And I guess it's something that I've never really even considered. Like I wouldn't say I'm lactose intolerant. I just sometimes when I drink milk, I'm like, yeah, I feel a bit blah, but it's not anything that really disturbs me or upsets my stomach per se. I've been subbing out for cashew, almond, coconut milk. What are your thoughts on those alternatives?
I think they're great alternatives. I mean, I drink almond milk too, and I think it's a great alternative. I think cow's milk is not something that we should be consuming after the age of 3.
Wow.
We are the only animal we're the like I like to call us, we're the most craziest freaking monkeys on the planet.
Mm-hmm. We
Uh,
sure are.
we're the only animal in the entire kingdom of this planet that actually drinks milk after the age of 3.
Interesting.
We're the
Very
only ones.
interesting.
all the other ones get cut off. So
Yeah, that's a good point.
why are we drinking, especially another animal's milk?
I don't know. Maybe we just can't let hold of the. Maybe we just can't let hold of the memories of titty milk.
Well, I told my nephew.
I mean, I don't remember. I don't remember it specifically, but maybe it's like a subconscious thing.
Well, I told my nephew, like when he was like 3, he won't remember. I'm like, now you got to work hard for it.
Right?
The free ride's over now, buddy.
Or if you just get really fit and attractive and maintain high testosterone levels, you won't really have to work very hard for it.
Oh, you still got to work for it. They don't make it easy.
Yeah, it's a bit of physical attraction and it's a bit of psychology. You gotta understand how the psychology of a woman works. That's something that we're not going to cover today because we were trying to keep this podcast under like 3 hours.
Okay.
So on that note, I actually just wanted to share something funny with you because when I was preparing to go on the podcast today and just doing all my general, tidying up prior to starting, I was chatting with a friend of mine and she likes older guys and she was asking me what I was up to and I said, I'm just preparing for a podcast with yourself. And I said, you remind me of someone that we know. And I said, remind me of someone that we know, but more like a slightly more outgoing Canadian Greek kind of version of that, not him specifically, not like a doppelganger. And I sent her a quick little video of one of your walking vlogs that you do. And I said, she goes, nice. I said, yeah, he's a cool guy. Pretty sure he's a bachelor, but I haven't asked. She goes, yeah, I got those vibes too. And she said, let me know if you ask or if he's looking, send him my way. And I said, he lives in Toronto. She goes, I love Canadians, though COVID is quite the cock block.
I'm flattered. And yeah, I'm still single.
It sounds like you're not planning to change that for a while.
I don't know. Like, I'm not closing the door completely.
Just whatever happens kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I almost got married a couple 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I lost my business the second time. It's like really is starting to catch traction and everything. Everything was going great, and the bottom fell out on it. And I found out that she was more in it for my money than she was in for me. So I ended it.
Surprise!
Yeah, surprise.
Actually, I did an interview with a dating and relationship coach, which is kind of fascinating. I'll put a link to that one in the description below as well if anyone is, it really wants to check that out. I used to do a YouTube channel on men going their own way. I still have it, but a lot of people have a bit of a negative connotation about that. But it's basically talking. It's funny because in the beginning I talked about things out of frustration, and then I sort of went to a place of entertainment, and then I got a bit savage, and then I sort of mellowed out. And the point I'm at now, whereas like I'll talk about the double standards that exist between men and women in the dating sphere today, but I'm not mad about it. I understand that that's how it is. I understand that that's how things work. I understand that there are going to be some people who just simply choose to keep getting into relationships. And when I spoke with Jackie from Love Unraveled, I talked specifically about how when you go out on a date, if you meet someone, you should never, ever, ever reveal your wealth to them. Because in a relationship, there are a number of things that can be taken from you by law, by the way, when you leave that relationship. Or if she leaves, if she opts out, she can still take stuff. Particularly if you've cohabited for more than 6 months. I mean, God forbid anyone who's on the receiving end of a narcissist who is in it for the money and you're a rich guy after 6 months, my goodness. But my argument was, if you go out with her and she thinks that you don't have that much money, but she still digs you and she still vibes with you and she wants to hang out with you, even though she's going, well, he's not a marriage prospect because he's poor, but I still want to hang with him because he's just a really cool guy. That's the type of chick you want to be going for, like really. And if you start to reveal your wealth too soon, if you dress up in a nice Armani suit and put on the special occasion Rolex that maybe your dad gave you, or you bought for yourself, or all of these things. I even said, like, if you've got a Bentley, borrow a friend's Camry, rock up in that, right? Because even if someone might like you for you, if you present the money straight up, that causes a switch because that goes from a place of enjoyment to opportunity.
Yeah.
And this is something a lot of guys don't realize. The things that attract a woman are not the same things that keep a woman. This is something really key. And a lot of guys keep stumbling on this and they end up in a similar situation to what both you and I have been in, John, where someone's either been in it for the money or they've cheated on you with someone else because what you have to offer is no longer what they want. Because you can't sustain the courting phase for 40 years. You just can't.
No.
It's not practical. It's not in your best interests. And it doesn't help anyone. It's living a lie. So be your authentic self from day one, even if they don't like it. If they don't like it, they're not going to like it in 40 years when you reveal your true self after all of that time. It's like they're going to leave you eventually. So if they like you, for your most authentic self, with no filters, with no money, or at least maybe, even if you have money, if you don't show that you have money, if you keep all of those things hidden, which you should, by the way, as a guy, it's important, because there's always going to be some suckers that floss their cars and their cash and their jewelry and their holidays. And while there's a perception that there's endless wealth, there's going to be endless spending on the part of your partner. And this is, in fact, there was actually a story that I saw about a neurosurgeon in Sydney, and he was dating this girl who had a 19-year-old son, and she was getting an allowance of between 20 and 25,000 Australian dollars per month, cash in hand from this guy. Plus, by my understanding, he paid over $1 million into her retirement account, right? So she was set up for the future. And she accused him of family violence. And there's lots of facets to what's called family violence. There's emotional abuse, there's sexual abuse, there's all of these different facets. It's so broad now that just upsetting a woman can be family violence. And I know there's going to be women listening to this going, well, I was a victim of family violence. And that's not true. It's like, well, look, if you were a victim of family violence, I have empathy for you. I have, my heart goes out. If you were genuinely a victim of physical violence in the home, if that was you and you didn't instigate it, I have a hell of a lot of sympathy for you, and nobody should have to go through that. But if you're upset because some months you get $22,000 a month in allowance rather than $25,000 a month allowance, get the fuck out of my face, legitimately. Like, that's not economic abuse.
Yeah.
And anyway, I got an Instagram message yesterday on my channel, and I've had guys that have said that I help them out of depression by helping them to understand how women work, because now they realize that why things happened, and they're now at peace with it. Because one thing I find, John, and I don't know if this is the same for you, I'd imagine it would be because we're both vibing on a similar level. I found that when people are depressed, when people are anxious, when they are frustrated, a lot of that goes away when you find solutions, or at least understanding of why things that happened. Is that something that resonates with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just
Yeah.
it's just
You have to have some form of solution in order for you to, um, I don't like using the term move on. Uh,
progress,
Progress is a better word.
move forward.
Yeah. But it's more like understanding that, like every time something like bad has happened to me, I've always gone to a, whenever I got out of it, I always became better.
Hmm.
Like I went from, my own place, having a car, having a girl, having, university, to nothing.
Hmm.
And then I found a good job, got myself better with exercise, found my love for exercise again, found my love for martial arts again, and I went from when I was in it, I was making what, $15 an hour back in 1999, which is good money back in 1999,
Hmm. Yeah, it sure was.
to making $25 an hour
Yeah,
after
wow.
after I went all through all that crap.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's really good money back then.
So just like, for me, it's like I need the peaks and valleys in my life. I
Hmm.
understand right now I'm coming up to a peak. The peak is still far for me, but I know I'm coming up. I know when I hit that peak, I got to come back down
Not as far as you were down before, but a little bit.
a little bit less. It's going to be a little bit down, but when I come back down, I understand I'm going to hit that bottom again, and I'm going to come back up even stronger.
Right, right. Because you take, and this is true for me as well. We take the lessons. If you can take the lessons from bad situations, if you can take the positives and take the learnings and apply that moving forward and progressing and getting better, then you're just going to keep leveling up until the day you die. Like really, even when you're old and gray, you're still going to keep leveling up, but in different ways maybe than you would have previously.
Yeah. You actually triggered a story that I have with a client that I had
Hmm.
years ago. He's a Jewish guy, and I was training his sons as well. And every time that we would have conversations, he was only interested in my failures.
Mm.
He was never interested in my successes. He goes, "Okay, what did you fail at? What did you learn?" That was more important to him than my successes. And I think that's a healthy way of looking at your own life. What
Right.
what lesson did I learn from this failure? Okay, what could I have made better? How could I have made it better? How could I have tweaked it to make it, more towards my own needs?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
I to I've got to be honest with you. I'd never really thought of things specifically in that way, and yeah, I need to start asking that question to people because that's huge, and it also by virtue of asking that question, you're acknowledging that you understand that success isn't just a skyrocket from the moment you're born. In fact, I describe progression in life as a big squiggle because you start at the start of your timeline and you end at the end of your timeline, however long that timeline is. And the goal is to constantly move in a overall upwards trajectory, which, and it's kind of hard not to, particularly if you learn your lessons over life and you're not completely closed off to taking things on board. But people are going to have moments in their life where they're going to go from euphoria to devastation. It's going to happen for most people. There's always a point, and that could be, whether it's a family member dies or gets diagnosed with cancer, or it's like that could have been your sister had your nephew's been in a terrible situation in Cambodia. Like, imagine if that happened.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so we all have our ups and our downs. Some are more severe than others. Some of us had bigger ups and some of us had bigger downs. But it's all a journey. And I think a lot of people put so much pressure on themselves to live up to this ideal of what they dreamed to be as a kid. But I mean, I'm moving in the direction that I want to go, and that wasn't what I dreamed of doing as a kid. Like, just seize the moment and move forward in that moment towards whatever it is that you want to do in that moment. And that will take you on the journey of life, which is going to open your eyes to things that you never imagined possible before. And like, that's, you know, your story is a textbook of that, John. I mean, kind of going through what you were going through, and then lying to get your gun license, which got you a job that got you into the gym, which then got you into fitness, which actually helped you to get out of the depression that you lied about having. And if you hadn't lied about that, if you hadn't made that decision in that moment, then, well, you wouldn't kind of be where you are today. Let's just be honest about that. And this is the journey, right?
I wouldn't be here.
Well, yeah.
Physically would not be here.
Yeah.
If I didn't lie on that application.
It's amazing how the decisions we make have such an incredible butterfly effect and have such an impact on our life.
Yeah.
So, you know, people shouldn't be scared to do things outside their comfort zone, because if people were scared to do things outside their comfort zone, then I wouldn't be here speaking with John Katsavos from the Fitness Oracle podcast right now.
Yeah.
So
I'd have flowers on my head. It's a Greek saying.
All right, Moana, calm down.
Not here. Here. 6 feet away from me.
Right. Exactly. But speaking of moving forward, you know, because we've had such a great conversation. I really appreciate you, John. And I want to hear about some of your goals for the next 12 months. The Ironman, fill me in.
The Ironman was I was a call out from a fellow guest of mine on the Fitness Oracle. I think it was like the 3rd episode or the 4th episode.
Mm-hmm.
This guy was 450 pounds and he dropped 235 pounds. And he goes to me, I basically told him I couldn't do this, something like what you did. And he looks at me and goes, no, I think you can. He goes, there's a race coming up. I want you to work towards it. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Then a couple of weeks later, I thought about it. I'm like, holy shit, this guy called me out. So
damn.
I don't like getting called out and saying no. So I'm like, all right, let's do this. And he's gonna send me my schedule for the Ironman in 21 weeks, and I'm gonna do it. 70.3, so it's a half full Ironman. Haven't decided on a race yet because Ironman hasn't released any races because of the COVID situation.
Understandable.
So when they release it, then I'm entering. I don't know which one.
Cool, man. Well, I'm very excited to follow your progress between now and then, and I will definitely be watching. And I think that you're going to smash it, because I know I agree. I agree with him that not only could you maybe do it, but I think you can do it. I genuinely believe that, because I know that you're a fit guy. I know that you understand what it takes to get there, and I know that you're committed. So, you know, those 3 things together, sounds like those are the 3 pillars of Ironman to me.
Yeah, sure. Or just me opening my big fat mouth and just saying yes.
Nice. And with regards to Vio Fitness, is that correct pronunciation? Is it Vio or Vio?
Vio.
Vio. Damn. All right, I messed that up at the start.
Everybody calls it Vio, but the proper pronunciation is Vio.
All right, cool. So I went to say Veolia Fitness because there's this bus company in Sydney called Veolia Buses. So when you hear Vio, it just starts to come out. But let's just start that again, shall we? Vio Fitness. Now that we've got that right, what's your goals for Vio in the next 12 months and for the Fitness Oracle podcast?
For the next 12 months, I'm hoping that I have a good tribe of followers on the Fitness Oracle, and they're starting to take advantage of the great programs that we have at VO Fitness. Want to start to really have the virtual training program, which I'm working on right now, have that up and running. So basically, I'm a personal trainer in your pocket. Everybody has a cell phone, and you don't need a personal trainer to be there watching you physically. Um, you can just pull out your phone. All right, show me a tricep pull down. All right, this is how you do it. Go do it. 3 sets of 10, or
Hmm.
3 sets of whatever. And so that program's going to be up and running. Hopefully, I have 4 or 5 people on that program.
Cool, cool. Sounds good, man. Well, hopefully you'll have more than 4 or 5 after this podcast airs, because it sounds like it would be really beneficial to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Particularly people that do want to level up in their fitness, and like I've seen your work, and you've got the physique to back what you have said. So I think that what you've got to offer is very valuable, and certainly I've gotten a lot of value out of what we've spoken today.
cool.
I know that last sentence wasn't quite grammatically correct, but that's totally cool. And you said also that you wanted to help other PTs take their practice to a virtual space. Tell me more about that.
Yes. So every single personal trainer has pretty much the same dream: freedom to do what they want, where they want, because they love doing it. They love helping people. And there's no better place, and this whole world is moving to a virtual environment. The brick and mortar gyms is going to be a drastic change to them. There's
Hmm.
two big, big box gyms here in Canada and US. They've already seen a 25% decrease in memberships.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who have cancelled theirs as well.
Even in staff. So they're going to close down gyms,
Yeah.
which means the customer still needs a personal trainer.
Hmm.
So I took my entire platform and put it virtually, and I want to be able to go out and teach other trainers how to do it for themselves, and uh, do it from the Caribbean. I'm planning on moving to Greece to do it from Greece, because I don't want to be in Canada.
Nice.
I don't want to be in Canada. It's minus 30 here in the wintertime. It's cold. It's not a fun
Hmm.
place.
As South Park said, it's not even a real country anyway. Sorry, that was a bit savage.
That's okay.
I heard that line in my head, and I'm like, I can't pass up this opportunity.
I love South Park.
It's so good.
So that's what I want to do. I want to help. I want to be that platform for other personal trainers to be able to do it. And why not? Why not?
Yeah, man, 100%. Now, you talked to me a little bit about what some of the things that you want to do in terms of leaving a legacy. Tell me more about that, John. What's the legacy that you want to leave behind in this world as a byproduct of your existence?
Maybe just be that one person that could change somebody's life for the better, so they can see that they are a positive influence in this world. I'm a strong believer that there's 7.5 billion people. If you shut off all the electricity in this world, there's 7.5 billion lights that should be glowing.
Hmm.
And if I can make one person, just one person, just see that they are that light and they're shining bright, that's and they're living the life that they want on their terms. That's, to me, that's cool. That's all the money in the world right there.
Yeah, and you mentioned about just making a small nudge to shift mentality. Tell me more about that.
Small nudge to shift mentality. It's basically what we need. We're just we're just so inundated with so much crap that's being pushed through TV, news, this, that. It's like, if you can just understand that, you know, you are your own person, you shouldn't be influenced by other people.
Right.
You can take their counsel, but I think one person said it the best on Instagram. Um, don't take advice from somebody you won't take. Sorry, don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from.
Right, right, exactly. I think that's probably one of the best pieces of advice that any person could take on board, especially when it comes to seeking out a mentor.
Yeah, and yeah, just understand that, you know, there are two sides to every conversation. You have to listen to both, and you have to come up with your own decision. No one can come up with that decision for you.
Yeah, I mean, technically you don't have to listen to both, but I would suggest that it would be in people's best interests.
When people start yelling and screaming at each other, that's when you just gotta just step back and say, you know what, you guys gotten a little bit too far now. Like this,
Right,
there
right,
has
exactly.
there has to be some rationality in the conversation.
Because when emotion is up, intelligence is down, and when intelligence is up, emotion is down. You can't have high emotion and high intelligence at the same time. It's just not neurologically possible for people.
Yep, exactly.
So, and I mean, people can switch between those two modes. Like if you've got something that really emotionally drives you, in order to come up with a logical solution to that emotional dilemma, you need to take a step back, drop the emotion, look at it logically, and if you want to step back into that emotion, don't try and do it at the same time as you're trying to be logical, because you're just going to find yourself in a traffic jam in your head going around in circles, and it doesn't benefit anyone, let alone yourself, which is the person that you should be looking after first and foremost, because how can you make a positive impact for other people if you can't make it for yourself?
Well, you nailed it right there. That's the very first question that I ask people on my live calls. Who's the most important person in your life?
You are.
Exactly. Do you know how many people get that simple question wrong? It's
Almost everyone that calls you.
Yep,
Yeah.
almost everyone. I've only
and
had one time, two times where people got it right. Only two.
hmm. And yeah, and I like that's right, because I think that we so often sacrifice ourselves for others. By the way, this is why so many relationships break down, because people don't work on themselves, don't look after their own self-care, and then they become someone that, wait for it, that women don't respect. That is huge. If a
Yep.
woman does not respect you, it is a ticking time bomb for your relationship, period. There are no exceptions to that rule, ever.
Yep. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
just wanted to share that with the audience. If there's one thing that you take away from this today, it's that.
Yep.
Hopefully you'll take away lots of other things, because John, you've provided such an incredible wealth of knowledge, and I thought I was fairly knowledgeable on some things, and you've just taken my understanding to the whole new level. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you for coming on. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your story, because I know that some of those things were probably hard to share without breaking up. I don't know that I would have been able to make it through telling those stories. If it was my sister and her kids with that Cambodia story, I'm sorry, my voice would have broken during that. So like that takes some strength, and I really appreciate that. I appreciate you for who you are, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and bringing that wealth of knowledge that you have in that fantastic looking head of yours along with us.
Thank you for having me. It was an honor to be on your show.
Thank you, brother. Let's talk soon.
Of course.
Bye.